Hello, welcome to the second workout of our functional strength training workouts where we're putting all the various exercises together in a more balanced structure so that you can ensure that everything's not overworked and you're getting all the movement patterns covered and obviously all the muscles covered. So first exercise we're going to start with is a single leg deadlift. From the first phase we just had a standing Romanian deadlift. So it basically follows on from that. Obviously it's significantly greater amount of skill and strength being in a single leg position. Even though the weight is a lot lighter, this is a much more difficult exercise. Alright, so basically I'm going to try to aim for a load that would fatigue me around about 8 to 12 reps. Just trying to execute good form, good control. Obviously balance is a big factor, but the strength and the range of motion that you're able to achieve with both legs is also important. So as opposed to the normal two-leg bilateral method, you can't really distinguish if there's a weaker side or not, but in this one you definitely can. So obviously this one too, that brings the feet into it for the first time. So where the bilateral, you can overcome any instability in the feet or weakness within the feet because they're not really demanded to do as much, where on this one they are demanded a heap. Alright, so this is a great one for anyone with knee pain, hip pain especially, obviously a bit of back pain as well, and any feet related things. So it's one of the ones you really need to have in there all the time. And if I'm really trying to improve gait, this is arguably one of the best ones because this is the stance phase of the running action really. So, and that's usually where all the injuries and the issues occur within the stance phase. So you're really building tremendous amount of strength through obviously the legs, but even through the core, and just executing a great hip hinging mechanics that follows on from the fundamental one of phase one. All right, so once I've done a set of that, I can superset that with a different exercise that's not going to compromise my strength on the legs there. It's going to actually complement it, and this is where I bring in the cable push with one hand. First time we were just standing still. Now we've got like the weight shift. So when I've got the weight shift happening, this is where I'm really actually asking the legs not just to stand still, but to actually create some of the momentum and the power. So you can see how this leg is really loaded up big time. The core is really bracing tight here, but it goes from bracing and straight away into creating rotation. But it has to be done all in time with the strength of the leg, because the legs are the engine room. The arm, ironically, is probably the less significant part. Like, it's definitely a big part of it because it's pushing the load, but really all of the other factors are what makes it, either makes or breaks it. So in the standing static one from phase one, which I would have finished in that position, because the legs weren't moving, so in phase one I was just standing still doing that. This is a great way to build the serratus anterior and obviously the pecs and triceps, all the stuff you get from pushing actions. But because I'm in a static standing action, I don't really get as much from my legs as a prime mover, but now I do. So on this side now I'm going to be demanding the strength of the right glute, obviously through the quads and everything as well, but really the glute because I'm in that bent over action, which is similar to what I was doing in the single leg deadlift. All right, but obviously tempo change on this as well. So the single leg deadlift was slow, controlled. This one's more explosive and fast. So I'm much more fast twitch fiber. Both are sort of asking work from the legs and the core, but in different sort of capacities. So the same muscle going from a stabilizing, non-moving action in the single leg deadlift to now actually creating momentum and providing movement. Alright, so I could do 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps, doing a little superset of each one with about a minute break between. Once I've done that, I can move into like the opposing action of what I just did then. So if that was pushing, now I'm going to be in the pulling action. So if I was in a single leg deadlift before, now I'm incorporating a lunge action. So I'm a little bit more upright in this one. So this brings into play a lot more quads. And again, this is bringing in the posterior sling. So last in the phase one, we were just standing still. Now I'm actually, as you can see here, I'm actually on the move. So And again, instead of just asking the legs to stay still, now they're actually being told to create the movement. And in line with the opposing contralateral side of the upper body, I'm building strength into the upper back, which opposes the pushing action, which was building strength through the anterior chest and all the pushing action. All right, so quite a simple exercise. Again, I could manipulate the angles here. I could have the cable higher, which would actually give me a mechanical advantage, make it easier to stabilize, and would actually help my legs to some degree. If I had the cable a lot lower than this, it would actually be creating a lot more tension on the legs. Neither of them are wrong. They're both right. It just depends on where you're at in terms of your movement efficiency as to which one you want to play with. All right. Now this time I'm going to superset this with a different action that's not going to compromise that one. So if I'm in a pulling action on the previous one, now I'm going into a pushing action, and this time I've got a squatting movement. All right. So if we've just seen single leg deadlifting and lunging, now I've got the squat action. So it brings into play a lot more quad. And obviously the shoulders, because I'm going vertically in a pushing action instead of horizontal like the first one. All right, so the rotation part again is a big part of it, and you can see how I actually use a bit of speed and momentum to really explode through. So in this case I'm pushing more from the left leg than I was on the first go of the right, and just a completely different action, and surprisingly tiring. This one, by the way, so you really lift quite a heavy load on this. I think I had a 15 kilo dumbbell, but you can easily get this one right up in the 25s if you're a guy. Any of the females can probably lift 10 kilo plus. All right, so those two would work together. So again, you're going for about 3 sets of 8 to 12 on the lunge pull, maybe 3 sets of 6 to 8 on that one, really trying to emphasize a heavier load more so than the higher reps. It sort of works better, a bit like a deadlifting, and that one sort of works better with a higher load. All right, so now the next one I'm going to work into a loaded carry. So this time I'm going to do a suitcase carry. So this is a great functional exercise because it brings in my deadlift action. So I have to deadlift it to pick it up. Now I'm bringing in the carrying for the first time with a decent load. This is a great exercise I've featured many times before, where it really works on this leg here, so the opposite side to the arm that's hot carrying. So everything here working through here. So this is very much the lateral sling. So we've seen posterior and anterior sling. This is more of a lateral sling. So the glute on this left leg has to work with the QL and the obliques on the opposing side to stop basically me from wobbling side to side. So again, my core now is being really programmed to resist flexion laterally, so I can execute walking, because if I start moving around, I won't be able to carry the weight. I definitely won't be able to hold it still. All right, so I haven't walked far enough on this because I ran it just for the sake of the video. So I'd aim for about like 30 to 40 meters. And on this side, this is where the QL would be. You would see on this opposing. So there's my left leg right there. So the QL sitting there working through the glute on this side. So both of these and the obliques trying to create like a perfect symmetry, and the glute working through stance phase, and then as you can see on the right leg here, actually in the extension phase where it's kicking backward, so I can actually walk. So again, I would basically put this down normally, but just for the video I'd just change hands, but I'd put it down and deadlift it down and then walk again, going through the on the other. So I go all the way up on the right, all the way back on the left. Just for the video I just was doing it a few times, just so you get an idea of how much you would want to do. Grip is obviously a big factor in this one as well. So it's something that really builds tremendous grip strength. So all the upper back, forearm muscles, all of those things are going to be working big time in this. Now I'll couple this one with the Turkish get up this time, which I've featured this once before in a video from a few years ago where I used to use the farmer's walks or suitcase carry in between sets, and then on the different superset I'd do it with a Turkish get-up. They kind of like, they're very unique exercises in that they really working lots of things all in one go. So this one, like obviously it looks like it's an arm thing because of the dumbbells being held by your arm, but it really is a lot more of a core exercise than it looks. So at that point there, my shoulders, I've got like a lot of stability being created in this shoulder to keep that dumbbell still, but surprisingly it's this one that's usually hardest when you've got an issue, because it has to be very stable and strong to provide the base for me to be able to move so I can do things with my legs. All right, so once I've got the base set, then I can push my butt up. There's a hip extension. Now I'm really working my core big time, because I've got to keep it really still. This is where you can flare up a QL if you've got lots of issues around the hip. And there's my lunge stance. All right, so then I just stand up really straight, trying to keep that right arm as straight as possible, lunging down, moving my hand around, big time work through the core right here, because I've really compromised because I've only got two things on the ground, one hand, one leg. And then obviously I switch sides, so I go to the left side. And again, you can see some, if you've got weaknesses on one side of the body, that will be really apparent on this. So there's my stable. This is where my scapula and everything on this right arm. It's a good point to stop right here. You can see this leg moving. So my hip pushing up, my serratus anterior and all my scapular stabilizers pushing down. This arm's doing a different role, trying to keep that from moving. My core is working hard so that I don't aggravate the QL, and I use my obliques like I'm supposed to. And then once I get to here, I can straighten up into that lunge. And now I've got to use all my leg strength to get up without letting that dumbbell fall forward. So a really good postural activation on that. So it's a very deceptive exercise. I only really need 1 rep on each side. So I could work this suitcase carry up for 30-40 meters and then do my Turkish get up for 1 rep each side and repeat that 3 times. And I'm pretty much in those 6 exercises covered nearly everything. All right, so I've worked nearly every muscle throughout that whole workout. I could add some additional things at the beginning and the end if I really wanted to. I could add some crab walks for some extra glute things, maybe some extra core exercises at the end if I wanted to, but you don't really need to. If you could probably all do these with 4 sets. That would probably be better, more beneficial than adding extra exercises, and you'd get more out of that. All right, so this really follows on from the first phase. In the next phase, you'll see a lot more of the explosive, multi-joint, complicated ones. I can't really start with those. I really need to get good at these foundation ones first and build some strength. So this really follows on from phase 1, and then phase 2 will follow on from this one. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that video. Check the description underneath, because I put heaps of links to the techniques and the extra information relating to all these exercises I've just shown. And I hope you enjoy that, and we'll see you next time.